Did Diatone just make me a mini Taycan? Yep. Alright guys, here it is, the mini Taycan, otherwise known as the Taycan 25. It is a cross between the Taycan and the Hatina that came out earlier this year, but this is the case. Pretty nice, zipper all the way around. You have a handle on this side. It says MXC 2.5. That means that this is running 2.5 props on here. Let me go ahead and open up the case. You have a nice pouch up here for your extra props, which is nice. You have some extra receiver cables that come along with it. You do need to plug in one to add your S-Bus receiver on there. If you're brand new to FPV racing, please do watch some videos on how to bind up a receiver and set it up in Betaflight. But this is looking pretty cool. Look at how colorful everything is in here. This is a nice design on the quad. We have a really sturdy frame with a combination of really nice sort of ABS, looks like molded plastic, and carbon combo in here. And I'm going to show you this a little closer in a minute. And we have a variety of colors for extra ducts. If you break one of these ducts, you can replace it with a different color, which is kind of cool. Or you could take all the gray ones off and mix it up and make it super colorful. And also in the box, they do give you several different types of accessories in here. These are molded plastic camera mounts. This is a flat one with a sort of a GoPro style mount on the front there. And you get some extra hardware, which is nice. You get a beeper in this bag as well, and you get a guide to the Mamba F411 flight controller, which is the flight controller of choice on here. It also has 25 amp ESCs for running 3 or 4S, and we have a receiver connection diagram in here, which is super important for the new guys trying to wire up the receivers. So you have all that in the box, and let's go ahead and take a look at the quad itself. Now, originally I had set up to fly my GoPro in here, and I know the GoPro is probably a little bit heavy for this quad, being it's a 2.5 inch power system on here with 1404 motors. They are 5,000 kV. I did run it with a 4S 850 and I was getting around 5 minutes flight time. However, check out what happened to my GoPro mount. I had a crash. It went in head first right on top of the GoPro, and this completely broke off. I think Diatone probably should have made these little camera attachment accessories the same material that every other quad out there in the quad universe right now is using, which is TPU. We could have used a TPU mount here, and the worst that might have happened would maybe the screws would have pulled through, and I could have used some type of washers on top of that and fixed it later, but this is not going to be fixable. So that's one thing to note about the Taycan 25, but I do like the fact that they use these new little types of carbon frame fasteners on the bottom right here, and they have an arrow pointing forward. You can see the Diatone logo as well, and on the top and bottom they have these. These are going to add extra rigidity and support when you're flying this, and it's going to give you a little bit less vibration in your camera view. So I'm also thinking that for this particular quad, you're probably going to want to fly the Insta360 Go on here, or get the DJI Air module, or the VISTA actually is the one that comes along with the other version of it. The HD version comes in at around $279, and the Cadex Baby Ratel version, which is this one, comes in around $159 on the Banggood website. So this one does also follow suit with the original Taycan, having a top plate removable, but they squashed it into 3 pieces now, and this 4 bolts in the center right here come off to reveal access to your flight controller, which is also super nice. You have your XT30 right here. I have a Lumineer stubby on the back because somehow in setting up this quad for you guys, I lost the original antenna that came along with it. So I used the stubby on 400 milliwatt. The VTX is 400 milliwatt, and it does quite well out in the field. I'll show you some analog recording from my DVR as well. And 1404 5,000 kV motors did good. The props are decent. And the cool thing about this particular quad is that these are reversed motors, so they're inverted, and we have 5 support structures on the top, which is a little more than some of the other Cinewhoops out there. But what this does, what's really nice flying characteristic about this quad is the fact that you have no frame wash underneath here. These props have direct access to the airflow, so there is no interruption of the airflow coming out of the bottom of these motors. So what does that do? It makes the quad fly much more smoothly and stable for cinema flying. Now, if you want to fly this cinema style, fly it with the prop guards on there. If you're a beginner as well, keep the prop guards on here with the foam bumpers. That is absolutely fine. If you want to fly it freestyle and have more agility, possibly even do power loops with this quad, it'll fly way better if you take these foam bumpers off. These foam bumpers are notorious for grabbing wind. If there is a super windy day, take the bolts off this, pull the foam off, and fly it without the foam, and you'll find out that it will fly about 80% better in windy conditions without these foam bumpers. So that's the characteristic of pretty much all of the different sizes out there that have foam bumpers. Even some of the smaller ones, you can remove the foam, flies way different. Less pushing on the frame and creating problems for the flight controller. So the more external forces you have on the quad, the more the flight controller reacts, and you'll have that thing called wobble. But enough about this quad. It is super fun. It is super compact. It is also very noisy. So that's one thing to consider. This is not the quietest thing in the world. It is probably just as loud or louder than an actual 3-inch Cinewhoop somehow. I don't understand. Maybe it's the props. But let's go ahead outside now and let's fly it. I'll show you my GoPro crash, and then we'll go ahead and do some analog video for you. You'll see the best of both worlds. Here we go. Okay guys, let's go ahead and get the Taycan 25 up in the air. I've got a couple other folks hanging out at the field today with goggles on, and they're checking it out, going along for the ride, as well as you guys. So I'm just gonna do some commentary over here in the bottom left-hand corner about how the Taycan 25 flies. We're gonna talk about the durability, flight factor, we're gonna talk about foam versus no foam on the ducts, and the various different cameras that you can put on there. Now right now, speaking of cameras, we have the Hero 7 on there. GoPro Hero 7 is pretty heavy for something this size with 2.5-inch props. So generally I'd run like a naked GoPro would be the optimum one. You can get those kits from Diatone. I'll put some links down there below, and you can decase your GoPro. You can take your GoPro out of the case and put it in something much lighter. I also wanted to see how it would handle a dive with the Hero 7 on there, the full-size Hero. And I expected it to tumble or wash out at the very bottom of that. It was a fairly gentle dive, but it did handle even the steepest curve of it, so that's good. That's really good news. And you can see that the video you're gonna bring home from this, you're gonna get a much shorter flight time in probably the 3-minute range, even if you're just kind of cinema style whooping around. But here is where I crashed. And I'm not sure if I hit the disarm switch or what, but it broke that GoPro mount. So if that had been TPU, it probably would have just bent and took the crash. They're really cool looking mounts, but they are kind of brittle if you have a heavy camera on there. So probably not really made for the GoPro. But here I'm testing out the 400 milliwatt VTX. So a lot of static in there because there's also metal spikes sticking out of the ground right near here. So whenever I get close to the metal spikes, you're gonna see an extreme freak out. And there's extreme freak out right here for 2 reasons. One, I'm really low to the canopy in the thickest part of the field, and I'm low to the ground. Whenever you go low to the ground really far away, your video goes out pretty bad. And a lot of times sometimes it just depends on the antenna setup and what VTX you're using. But the tune is really good on this quad, and I want to demonstrate this because I'm super low to the ground right here, flying something almost like a tiny whoop would take. And this 2.5-inch is able to go places, really, really small places, because the tune is so good on here. Really nice. And I want to show that again, another example of that, getting really low to the ground here. It just handles it really well. That's awesome. Really getting in there. One more time, low to the ground. Inches off the ground. That's awesome. Really nice straight lines. And these trees are kind of in here at no particular order, it seems. There are rows, but they seem to be on some strange diagonals closer, and it's kind of fun to skirt through there and see what I can get away with. Now let's dip down back into this row with some speed, see if we can hold a straight line. Really nice. And high enough rates to be able to take that curve, which was nice. Now a little punch out and some inverted flip there. Just momentarily holding that inverted flip. It didn't freak out on me, so that's good news. Back underneath that branch and back up and over again. Just barely making it by those trees right there. That was cool. And now back down in between these rows. There's a lot of little branches sticking out right here to get us. And pretty hard power loop that time, and that's the only time that I got it to freak out. And at this point, guys, I'm not flying with the GoPro. So the GoPro is no longer on there. But I think my takeaway from the Taycan 25 so far is that it's really fun to fly. And I'm pretty sure it could do a low power loop. I just kind of messed that one up, but I'm absolutely certain that this quad can power loop. If you put the Insta360 Go on there, you're probably gonna get away with some pretty good freestyle with this quad. So if you're already rocking some Fat Shark goggles, grab the analog one for around $150, $159. And it's a pretty good buy because you get a lot of really cool stuff here with the Taycan 25. You get great design from Diatone, high quality components. The 1404 motors seem to be doing pretty well. And there's an example of a roll and a flip there. The rates are not super high. They're softened up a little bit for cinema. So it doesn't roll and snap like the new Beta FPV 95X that I'm gonna review coming up. That's gonna be an awesome review as well. So I think this quad, I would give this one a like 1 thumbs up out of 2. Absolutely a good buy and extremely durable. Check out this power loop I tried to attempt and bam, straight down into the ground. It survived, so it's super durable. All right, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the flight footage from the Taycan 25. I think that once the GoPro came off here, it flew way different. I know the GoPro is, again, it's pretty heavy for this size power system. Normally I don't do that, but I didn't have an Insta360 setup that could mount to this particular mount. If I did, I would have ran my Insta360 Go, so all apologies there, guys. But I did find that the 4S 850 was fun on here. It is one of those quads that's going to be fairly indestructible. I hit all kinds of stuff with this quad. I hit 2x4s. I crashed into the ground. I mean, I smacked pretty much everything out there in the field that was solid that I could hit with this quad, and it still flies. And I didn't even break a prop. I have one little chip on the front right prop right here. Just this one little tiny chip. That's all the broken stuff I came home with, for the exception of the plastic mount, which is the weak point of this whole entire kit. So that's one thing to consider. If Diatone would offer maybe some kind of TPU versions of these type of mounts, that would be great, because this plastic looks cool, but it is brittle. But overall, I'm happy with it, and I think that the price on the site is pretty good. $159 is, you know, nothing to shake a stick at for what you're getting here in this package. I think that it's a really good value with the case and all the extra prop ducts you get. It is actually a pretty good size case, and you can fit plenty of 4S 850 milliamp batteries in this case to go to the field. So I think this one is a good value, cool design, and I love that is bottom thrust on here. So inverted motors create a really nice cinema rig. So if that's what you're looking for, grab one of these and combine it with an Insta360 Go, and you'll have a pretty nice setup here. So thanks again for watching my reviews, guys. I'm Justin Davis. Please do take care out there, and I'll see you on the next one.